Welcome to the inner citadel. They thought they were destroying you. They were not. They were forging you. Every betrayal, every insult, every closed door, every silence where loyalty should have stood, every moment where your name was dragged through the dirt and no one defended you, all of it was not the end of you. It was the furnace. They thought they were breaking a man. They were waking one up. They thought they were burying weakness. They did not understand that pressure does not only crush. Sometimes pressure creates something sharper, colder, and impossible to handle. Look carefully at the version of you that existed before the wound, the one who explained himself to people who had already decided not to understand, the one who begged for loyalty from people who were only loyal when it benefited them, the one who apologized for taking up space, softened his ambition so others would feel comfortable, and mistook their cruelty for his own failure. That version of you was not meant to survive. He was too open, too available, too dependent on approval, too willing to bleed in front of people who came only to watch. What happened did not destroy your future. It destroyed the version of you that could not survive inside it. This is the lesson Machiavelli understood with brutal clarity. A man who is wounded and survives does not return as the same man. He has touched the bottom and discovered that even the bottom has a floor he can stand on. He has seen what people become when loyalty costs them something. He has watched masks fall. He has felt the silence of those who claimed to care. And after that, something changes permanently. He no longer fears losing what was already taken. He no longer worships approval from those who proved unworthy of giving it. He no longer moves through the world hoping it will be kind. He begins studying it as it is. Pain is the most honest teacher you will ever meet. It does not flatter you. It does not negotiate with your ego. It does not care about your potential, your excuses, or the story you tell yourself in the mirror. Pain strips you down to what is real, and what is real is the only foundation strong enough to build on. The betrayal showed you who your friends were. The loss showed you which parts of your identity were borrowed. The humiliation showed you where your confidence still depended on applause. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding that information. You were forced to receive it. That is why the wound, if you study it correctly, becomes a weapon. Stop mourning the version of yourself that died. He had to die. He trusted too quickly. He explained too much. He hoped too loudly. He gave access to people who had never earned it. The man who replaces him must be different. He watches before he speaks. He listens before he trusts. He measures every face in the room before giving it access to his life. He does not become bitter, because bitterness is still attachment. He becomes awake. Bitterness is for men still surprised by betrayal. Awareness is for men who learned the pattern and decided never to be fooled by it again. There is a death that no funeral marks. No coffin, no flowers, no audience, no one standing in the rain. It usually happens alone, in silence, after the worst thing has already happened. The old self dies quietly. At first, the world looks the same room, the same mirror, the same body. But inside, something has gone still. The part of you that needed their approval, rehearsed conversations with people who never cared, and measured your worth through unstable eyes is gone, and the silence it leaves behind may feel empty at first, but that emptiness is the beginning of peace. Most people run from this death. They distract themselves with noise, pleasure, scrolling, alcohol, relationships, drama, or any cheap escape that helps them avoid the room where the old self is dying. So the old self never dies cleanly. It rots inside them and continues making decisions from the grave. It keeps them loyal to people who drain them, attached to environments that weaken them, and afraid of judgments from rooms they do not even belong in. You cannot become powerful while protecting the version of you that kept losing power. The need to be liked is one of the strongest leashes a man can wear. While you wear it, every decision becomes a performance. Your ambition shrinks to fit other people's comfort. Your truth softens to avoid their reaction. Your future becomes shaped by imaginary opinions from people who are not even building anything themselves. The day they betrayed you, that audience left the theater, and in that empty space, for the first time, you could hear your own voice. Colder, clearer, less desperate, more honest. That is the voice of the man they accidentally created. If this is already hitting something real in you, subscribe to the Inner Citadel and comment below. I am what they feared, not as revenge, not as performance, as a declaration that the old version is gone. Now the work begins, because surviving the wound is not the destination. It is only the foundation. A foundation without structure is just a scar in the dirt. The untouchable man is not born. He is engineered deliberately, decision by decision, after the destruction. Every part of his new architecture is built to ensure that what happened once cannot happen again. The first pillar is silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of strategy. He stops announcing his moves. He stops explaining his reasoning to people who have no authority over his direction. He stops confusing transparency with wisdom. Transparency is powerful between equals, but among predators, it becomes a confession. So he closes his mouth. He moves quietly. He lets his results speak in a language no critic can edit. The second pillar is distance. He learns that access is sacred. The people who hurt him most were not always strangers. They were often the ones he allowed closest. That was not an accident. That was access. The untouchable man controls access like a king controls a gate. Not everyone who knocks gets in. Not everyone who gets in stays. He can be respectful without being available, generous without being exposed, warm without being easily reached. The third pillar is patience. The old version wanted justice quickly. He wanted apologies, explanations, recognition, consequences. The new man understands that revenge served in real time is usually just pain trying to look powerful. He lets time do what anger cannot do cleanly. He keeps building while others keep talking. He knows that the strongest answer is not a reaction. It is distance so undeniable that one day the difference between his life and theirs becomes the verdict. The fourth pillar is unpredictability. He never allows anyone to fully map him, not because he is dishonest, but because no one has earned the whole picture. A man who is fully known is easily managed. A managed man is not free, so he reveals selectively. He keeps parts of his ambition private. He lets people underestimate him while he builds what they cannot see. He understands that mystery is not decoration. Mystery is protection. The fifth pillar is indifference to applause. The untouchable man does not need to be celebrated, defended, understood, or constantly reassured. Praise does not intoxicate him. Insults do not define him. He has moved his center of gravity inside himself, where no one else can reach it. That single shift makes him extremely difficult to control. If they cannot lift you with praise or destroy you with criticism, they have lost the easiest handles on your mind. This is the architecture: silence, distance, patience, unpredictability, and indifference to applause. 5 pillars holding up a man who can no longer be destroyed by the same weapons that destroyed the version before him. If you understand this, comment, "They lost me." Let those words carry the weight of every door you are never walking back through. Real power does not announce itself. It does not beg to be seen. It does not perform for validation. The men who shout their strength usually have the least of it, because strength that requires constant witnesses is not strength. It is performance. Quiet power operates by a different law. It does not chase. It attracts. It does not argue. It decides. It does not explain itself to people committed to misunderstanding it. It moves according to its own clock and lets reality speak. While other men drain themselves trying to be noticed, the quiet man compounds in skill, discipline, money, clarity, and emotional control. One day, without announcing a comeback, he simply arrives. Rooms feel different when he enters. People who once dismissed him start paying attention. Those who used to talk over him suddenly stop mid-sentence. He did not reach that moment through noise. He reached it through private discipline so consistent that it became invisible before it became undeniable. Understand the mechanics. Every unnecessary word you do not say is power you keep. Every reaction you refuse to give is a leash you refuse to wear. Every explanation you withhold is a part of yourself that remains sovereign. Most people leak their power through their mouths. They announce their plans before the plans have muscle. They share wounds with audiences that only came to watch them bleed. They explain their comeback before they have built anything worth returning with. You will not make that mistake again. Do not warn the people you intend to surpass. Do not lecture those who underestimated you. Do not give speeches to rooms you are about to outgrow. Let your absence be the statement. Let your results be the argument. Let your silence become so heavy that the people who used to discuss you start wondering what you know that they do not. While they wonder, you work. While they guess, you build. While they search for you on old battlefields, you are already living in a place they cannot reach. Your enemies were not only enemies, they were dark teachers. Every person who betrayed you taught you something a loyal friend might never have revealed. Friends often protect you from uncomfortable truths. Enemies expose them without mercy. The person who betrayed you taught you where you were naive. The one who abandoned you taught you where your dependence was too visible. The ones who watched silently taught you what loyalty looks like when it has a price. Do not waste those lessons by turning them into hatred. Hatred is still attachment. Hatred keeps them close. Every minute you spend rehearsing what they did is a minute you rent out to people who are no longer qualified to occupy your mind. The untouchable man does not release the past because they deserve peace. He releases it because he refuses to carry them any further. He puts them down like a weapon he no longer needs, not because the war was meaningless, but because his hands are required for something greater now. Then he studies, coldly, methodically, without flinching. What did they want? What did they fear? What did their silence reveal? What pattern did you ignore before it became obvious? These are not emotional questions. They are strategic ones. The same patterns will return wearing different faces, speaking with different voices, smiling with different smiles. The only thing standing between you and the next betrayal is whether you understood the last one. The final answer is reinvention, not a rebrand, not a small improvement, not the same wounded man with better posture, total reconstruction. The people who hurt you had a map of the old you. They knew which insecurities to press, which loyalties to weaponize, which emotional doors were unlocked. Burn the map, become a country they have no passport to. Build skills they cannot replicate, develop standards they cannot survive. Cultivate a presence they cannot destabilize because it is no longer built on anything they can access. Do not try to return to who you were before the wound. That is not healing, that is relapse. The old structure collapsed once. Why rebuild the same structure with the same weak materials and expect a different ending? The new man changes his rooms, his habits, his circle, his body, his schedule, his information, his standards, and his silence. He becomes, by deliberate construction, someone his enemies cannot recognize and cannot reach. Reinvention without discipline is theater. The world is full of people performing transformation they cannot sustain beyond the next difficult week. You will not be one of them. The new man is not built by inspiration. Inspiration is cheap fuel, and it always runs out when it is needed most. The new man is built by discipline. Discipline is colder than motivation, quieter than passion, and more loyal than any feeling you will ever have. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect in action. It is the private decision to keep promises to yourself when no one is watching and no one would notice if you broke them. Every promise kept in private compounds into a man who cannot be moved in public. Every promise broken in private compounds into a man who collapses the moment pressure arrives. There is no neutral ground. You are building one of those men every day. The disciplined man guards his mornings, his attention, his body, his money, and his mind. He understands that the modern world is designed to make him weaker, slower, distracted, reactive, and afraid. He treats his attention like a treasure, not a public resource. He says no more often because he knows his time is the only non-renewable currency he owns. He does not answer every call. He does not attend every event. He does not perform every emotional reaction the world expects from him. His schedule becomes a fortress. This discipline is not a cage. It is freedom. The man without discipline is a slave to every impulse, notification, craving, mood, and person clever enough to manipulate his emotions. The disciplined man is the only free man in the room because his life is being directed by a hand that belongs to him. Everyone else is being pulled by forces they did not choose, toward destinations they did not select, on timelines written by people who do not love them. Now look at the long road, the wound, the silence, the reinvention, and the discipline cannot be judged in a week or a month. The verdict of a man's life is written in the years after the attack ends, when the audience is gone, when the world has moved on, when the people who hurt him are no longer watching. The only thing left is him and the choices he makes when no one is applauding. That is where most men lose quietly, and that is where a few win quietly. Time is the most honest judge you will ever face. It cannot be charmed, bribed, rushed, or manipulated. Time does not care about your excuses, your trauma, your unfair start, or the people who betrayed you. Time asks only one question, every day, through every decision. What are you doing with the hours you have left? Most people cannot face that question, so they avoid it until years disappear and they wake up inside a life they never consciously chose. The new man asks the question daily, what did I do yesterday that belongs to the man I am becoming? What did I do yesterday that belongs to the man I am leaving behind? In the space between those answers, he finds his correction, small, unglamorous, repeated. That is the formula, not fantasy, not overnight transformation, repetition, alignment, correction, time. 5 years of quiet, disciplined compounding can place you somewhere 10 years of emotional chaos never could. The roots grow underground before the tree breaks the surface. Most people quit before anything visible happens because they do not understand that invisible growth is still growth. One day, the surface breaks, and what looks sudden to others is simply the delayed evidence of what you refused to abandon. So here you are, not at the end, but at the beginning of everything after the wound. They thought they destroyed you. They only created something worse for them and better for you. A man who no longer begs for access, a man who no longer explains his silence, a man who no longer confuses pain with weakness, a man who is building a life so far from the one they tried to bury him in that if they ever saw it, they would not even know where to stand. Untouchable is not a mood. It is not anger. It is not revenge. Untouchable is a structure, a life rebuilt from the foundation by someone who finally understood that no one was coming to save him and decided no one needed to. The wound did its work. The old self died. The architecture is standing. The discipline is daily. The years ahead belong to you. If this reached something real in you, subscribe to the Inner Citadel, like this video, and comment, I am untouchable. Then close the noise, close the chapter, and walk into the life that the people who tried to destroy you accidentally made possible. I'll see you in the next one.